Hello, hello.
Hey, darling.
How are you?
Good. I'm trying to get everything set up here. Let's come back here. Okay. I just had my RWS like a minute ago, and I don't know where it went. But I've got my herbal tarot here, so I can use that for later.
Oh, I don't. I'll have to get up and grab my decks. They're across. I'm like actually hoarse because I've been like giving so many readings today and like talking so much.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it's
Oh
like it's the Taurus moon, and I definitely like felt myself like slow the fuck, like definitely slow the fuck down. But it's a full moon, and I'm actually like, as far as full moons go, I don't mind a full moon in Taurus. I think this is
no,
why
not at all.
the moon is exalted in Taurus, and it's like, thank God for a full moon in Taurus
Exactly.
in Scorpio season. So that's definitely how I feel, and I appreciate it. So, but it may not be like the most articulate of moons. So
Yeah, we can plod along. We'll be okay.
yeah, no, I mean definitely, especially when you like live in lunar synchronicity, you can't help but like really see how the cycles of shit work, you know? And where your
Mm-hmm.
peak energy, because you exhaust yourself during an Aries moon, you know? You go
That's
so hard.
that's the very least of it, for sure, on an Aries moon. Whee.
Everybody's having like such a day.
I feel like it's been quiet, but I mean, I have a full moon baby, and so he always gets a little manic as we approach full moons. So he's been on some shit today. He's been on some shit. So I've just been chasing him around and just trying to keep him from, you know, destroying the house while I'm in the process of cleaning up his last destruction of the house, which you're familiar. You know
Oh
what's
yeah.
happening over here.
Oh, my daughter's at that phase where it's just you go from one thing to destroy to the next. Like if you're not in an active activity, like sit on my lap and read the book, or I will color with you specifically, or I'm literally doing an activity with you at all times, she's destroying. So if you
Yeah.
don't have her like actively engaged, because she'll be 3, so I'm hoping it's winding down. But even just last night, she took out all the tissues out of a box of tissues, you know? But I think that's why we're the reverse Empress, you know? Like, because that type shit, like that type mom type shit and full moons. And I have a Pisces dominant child, so she's just a moon baby. So she's definitely affected. She's, you know, Pisces moons are always affected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is like Torrance axis of full moon. So he's, a Taurus sun with a Scorpio moon. So this is like his inverse that's happening right now.
Oh,
So
yeah,
we just
it's
have
so
to
exhausting.
roll with it, just gotta roll with it.
It's all you can do. It's all you can do. You know, I think people people love the full moon. It's a frenzied time. Not as bad when it's in Taurus. Halloween is coming up tomorrow. It feels very strange for me because of the quarantine, because of like the fact that I won't there's no like activity that we can like really do, even though we are going to do something here at home. 2020 has just been quite the year. And then to have a blue moon and all these holidays were like, I remember at the beginning of the year they posted, oh, you know, Cinco de Mayo's on a Taco Tuesday, and this holiday's on a this day, and none
Yeah,
of it
they
mattered
lined
because
up
we're all
so
fucking
beautifully, and we can't do
and we're like,
anything.
yeah, we can't do shit. We can't do shit. I mean, we did do stuff anyway, like when we met up a few weeks ago in LA.
Yeah. But even that like had that tinge to it, like where you were doubting whether or not that was like the wisest thing you could do. You're like, I'm like sitting on a plane
Yeah.
and I'm like, bitch, really? This is the second time you're in a plane during COVID, bitch? Like,
Oh, you flew.
but we're
Yeah, you
fine
flew
both
two
times.
places. Yeah, I feel like if you sanitize, if you spray stuff, if you keep yourself clean, that's already a lot more. Like, if you keep yourself clean and you're constantly killing whatever you could catch and you're taking precautions, and I think you'd be okay. Like, do you want to be in a sweaty club with everybody breathing and shit like that? No.
Oh, hell no. Yeah. We were
But
good.
I I think it was cool. It was really cool. But 2020 has been really that year. And as we come up on a time where everything's just so unpredictable, and I think this blue moon really heightens that. This blue moon really demonstrates how profound, this year is. Even with Uranus so close to the moon right now that we're dealing with as well.
Yeah, it's
And just the
conjunct Uranus.
unpredictability.
Mm-hmm.
Super unpredictable, you know?
Yeah, especially when you have the sun gets the opposition and the moon gets the conjunction, So that gives, but it's interesting because like when you look at those aspects like independently, like moon, like a natal moon conjunct Uranus, even though it means that you do have a certain level of like quirkiness and eccentricity, especially in how you emotionally express yourself. But like it's actually a pretty nice aspect to have because Uranus conjunct moon kind of gives you a little like a charisma of like you're definitely a weirdo, but you're a charismatic weirdo. So for people who are interested in that type of energy, like you tend to attract lots of people. People tend to be infatuated with moon conjunct Uranus natives. But like but Uranus opposite sun, on the other hand, even though it's like you still get that kind of that same eccentricity that you would get from just from Uranus in general. But like when it's opposite the sun, that's where like the nervous tension comes in. There's sometimes like in which I feel like like Mercury and Uranus are actually have a lot of similarity to each other. You know what I mean? In that way.
Definitely. Definitely. Especially in expression, you know?
Yeah, because they have
And
that
how,
there's like that electricity. There's like an
yeah, and how it's going to
energetic electricity to
manifest
them.
and the mutability of it in a way, the ability to go either way. Uranus itself can kind of is one of those planets that can take it any way at any time. Even though it moves so slow and it's generational, I think aspects to it are so important in especially in natal charts, because the majority of the astrology that I use for my practice, which is introspective tarot, is like natal chart astrology and how you can look at your natal chart and how these things are going to affect you as an individual. And I do think generational planets, as far as like setting the tone, I was talking to a friend of mine about it last night, setting the tone for an entire generation and how people grow up in the context in which the personal planets exist, I think is really important. And we don't talk about it enough, but I think it's very applicable, and a lot of things can be spoken about in terms of like the generational planets and what people actually went through. And I think this generation of children is going through a very profound time with the Aquarius energy and the Uranus and Taurus energy. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, I was
So
actually thinking
there's
about
people
that.
just born now, and that shit is wild. Like, we have babies. My friend that's here, she has a baby the same age as our baby. Like, we have babies. We have
Mm-hmm.
people that have this like Uranus, Aquarius, Mercurial, but Scorpio energy. Because her baby has Scorpio placements too.
Yeah, I
and
was
fire
wondering how,
moons,
like,
and
when we
which
look.
I know you deal with as well. Your babies
Oh
have
yeah.
fire or Martian moons. She has an Aries moon. She has a Scorpio, Aries, Leo.
Ooh, bless her fucking
Yeah,
heart.
and she's huge. She's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
But like when I was
Gorgeous
thinking
baby.
about how we, you know, in terms of like the generational planets, because we do focus so much of our astrology on the personal planets, because of course they're personally relevant, that makes sense. But like in terms of the generational ones, I thought it would be really cool to just kind of like look at the fact that, a person who is born with, say, a generational placement like Uranus and Taurus, or for us, like Pluto and Scorpio, that's the time in which we are born. But when we
Mm-hmm.
kind of like actualize as adults, those generational signs are different. So thought it'd be kind of cool to just kind of like take a deeper dive into the generational planets and think about how a transiting generational planet will hit you differently based off of the time, as you move through time, and what that would kind of mean.
Oh,
Because,
definitely. Like,
ultimately,
progressions, definitely.
yeah, I haven't
That's a
I haven't
whole
dove into
thing.
progressions much, but
Yeah, that's a whole thing. It's a whole world. It's like yourself and how your natal chart interacts with time and the chart that generates. I'm not super well versed in it either. There's so many rabbit holes within astrology that you can go into, and years and years, and I still consider myself intermediate in general, um when it comes to astrology, just because of the scope of what there is to know about it.
yeah,
Even though I know more than like a sun sign astrology person, and I can break down a birth chart and I can talk about, basic transits and aspects and things like that, but which is much more than your average person, because as I'm on here, I realize, and our listeners can let us know, whether you're here, let's use listening. Um, see if I can see it. Whether you're here from like, oh, hey, Noe, um, what your thoughts are on astrology, like how much you know about it. Do you just know your sun sign? Do you know how to read a birth chart? Because I've listened to a few people on stereo talk about astrology, and they really are misrepresenting like what the fuck it actually is, straight up, if I'm being honest.
yeah. I would say that or there's people who have a really an entry level understanding of it. I would say entry level in terms of like they've they understand their birth chart, but I think don't haven't quite gotten to the
No, I
level
mean,
of
I'm talking about
application that we
sun
have.
sign shit. I'm talking about sun sign basics.
Yeah.
Like they are talking about that. Like they're carrying on astrology conversations. Like, can a Libra love a Virgo? Like, bitch.
Can they breathe air?
I
Yes,
I
then yes,
just
they can love each other.
it's I I don't know. It's different, but then coming on here, it's like coming out of our shell, because we're in a world where we can speak in literally our terms and people understand, because everybody we're talking to is part of our like nerd niche of like astro people,
Yeah,
and not other people. Like other people aren't like just into that. But I do
right.
see it becoming more popular. I do. Especially with the youth. So a lot of like what I've been thinking about and like my advice that I've gotten has been like younger people are into different things, and they're for sure not into Facebook. So if we're going to reach like a more progressive demographic, we have to branch out and try something new and see what the next thing will be. This probably
Yeah.
won't like, be it, but this is something in the interim that you can at least, you know, something you can do. I think this is really cool to be able to do. I mean, I enjoy it. I don't know how this could grow like 10 times the size it is and still be